Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show. Listen, if you missed my video about the rebranding of this channel, which I'm sure you've noticed, then you want to check that out. In that video, I also introduced my second channel called Adrienne Ross Squared, squaring off from A to Z. And so make sure you check that video out. I will put the link to that video in this video's description. So make sure you click to expand the description so that you can see that. And I also have a link to merchandise that I'm selling to support and represent the Adrienne Ross Show. Also, if you have not subscribed to the Adrienne Ross Show, please hit the button. And after you watch the video I just talked to you about, in which I explain what's going to be going on in Adrienne Ross Squared, then go on over there and subscribe there also, if it fits your fancy. All right, Stephanie White, the new coach of the Indiana Fever, former Indiana Fever assistant coach, former Indiana Fever player, and most recently, former coach of the Connecticut Sun, did an interview on Coaching You podcast with a former assistant coach in the NBA. And Coach Brendan really broke down something that, and Coach Brendan really had, in less than an hour, an in-depth conversation with Stephanie White, talking about his own experience, talking about how Caitlin stacks up in some ways against some of the big names he's coached before, and also giving space for Stephanie to give her coaching philosophy with this Indiana Fever team. So I want to talk about some of them, but first, I want you to hear what he had to say about the players he's coached and where Caitlin fits in on it.
So check it. Now, when you get a generational player, and I know she's played 1 year and she's 22 years old, and Caitlin, but she's, I've coached Michael Jordan, I coached Isaiah, I coached Dominique Wilkins. And then with the Dream Team, we had all of them. Right. She's of that caliber in the women's game, which is of the highest quality. My observations of Caitlin, and I talked to Debbie Antonelli about this on our pod a couple of weeks ago. I've never seen in the NBA a player that can throw the ball ahead on the break better than her, or him, anyone. I had Isaiah, I had Hall of Fame point guard. Never anyone better than her.
Flashback, check it out. Well, those are some names right there. He's had the honor of coaching, and he said he hasn't seen anybody better than Caitlin. Listen to who he's coached: Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas. Come on, Dominique Wilkins. And Caitlin Clark. He said, I don't care. NBA, WNBA, male, female, doesn't matter. I've seen nobody be able to get the ball ahead like that. The passing, and obviously she led the league as a rookie in assists, and just can drop the ball. And when I say drop the ball, I mean pass that ball like unbelievable, right? Which is fascinating to me because someone engaged me on Instagram the other day, and the whole point was to question me about why people think Caitlin Clark is so good. And then really wanting to go back and forth and naming off people like Chelsea Gray and Sabrina Ionescu and Asia Wilson. And, Caitlin is, as far as her popularity, okay, but why do people think her skills are all that? And I'm thinking, are you watching? Because if you're watching the same games that I'm watching, you shouldn't have to ask that question. But for whatever reason, some people are bound and determined to try to undermine what Caitlin Clark brings to the game. And it just blows my mind because it's so obvious. And so here is someone, he's not some wild Indiana Fever fan in the stands. He's not some coach on the sidelines for the Indiana Fever. He's someone who's coached some of the greats of the game, and he recognizes the talent Caitlin Clark is. And yet somebody is going to go back and forth with me on social media and try to tell me that Chelsea Gray belongs in the same conversation with Caitlin Clark. Anyway, I just thought that was phenomenal. But I want to get to her coaching philosophy, and I want to play it and kind of stop and make some points and do it that way. So let's get started on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, pace. One of the downfalls of having, a veteran team like we had in Connecticut was we weren't very fast. We didn't play very fast.
Let me just stop and translate for you. In other words, they were old. So that veteran team, they just can't move like you would want them to move. But with Indiana, you're going to have young players and you got people who like to move, like to run. Okay. So that's number one. So glad to hear that. Let's keep going.
One of the great things about Indiana is they love to play fast, right? So I want to play with great pace. It's too hard in our league, and defenses are too good to allow them to get set, to allow them to be able to predetermine what you're going to do. So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free.
Okay, so let me stop there. She's saying something that, not to ride Christie sides, but something that Christie sides didn't get. Christie sides mentality was to play in the half court, at least for most of the season, to play in the half court. And listen to what Stephanie White is saying. She's saying that you don't want to do that. You don't want to get bogged down and have to grind it out in the half court if you don't have to. You want to be able to play fast. You want to be able to have that fast pace. And that was just something that you would hear Christie Side say over and over, pound it in the paint, pound in the paint, pound in the paint. And according to Stephanie White, and it's true, you're just making things difficult for yourself. So I don't want that for them. I want us to be able to get out and go. Okay, let's keep going.
To use their instincts and to play free.
All right, let me back up a little bit.
Them to be able to predetermine what you're going to do. So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. We want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets.
Okay. I want them to be free. That's a player's dream. That's a player's dream. I want them to be able, let's hear this part again.
We want to make plays, not run plays, right?
We want to make plays, not run plays. Yes. I used to tell my players, play basketball, don't play the play, right? Because if you can become robotic and you can just be like, well, this is the play. And something else opens up. Somebody is wide open under the basket, or somebody makes a great cut to the basket. But no, the ball was supposed to go over here, No, play the game. Don't play the play. And that's exactly what she's saying about playing free. But she's saying this as well.
Have sets. They give us certain spacing that we want.
Okay, so you're going to have sets, right? It's not like you're totally without any kind of plan at all, right? But you play. You don't let the plan play you, right? So we're going to have some sets. Okay.
They give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to, how can we manipulate them. So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate.
Yes.
And then
the plays are to give you something to work with so that you can do you and you can be instinctual.
Whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system, to get to the matchups and really challenging them to find the matchups, the reads, the shots that we want. And I think that's going to be the next step for a young team. And for a young team, sometimes you need it really structured. Sometimes you need to know what's coming. Sometimes you need to know exactly who's going to get the ball and when. Well, good defenses are going to take advantage of that right away, and you're going to be limited. So the goal for us is to put
Yes. So again, young players, they sometimes want to know, okay, so what's A, B, C, D, E? And like she said, a good team, they're going to be able to observe that. They're going to be able to find that, and they're going to totally exploit you. right? So you want to keep them on their heels because they never know exactly what's coming. Yes, you got some sets, but you're not just playing a set, right? You're playing within a system, yes, but you've got the freedom to create, and that will keep the defense on their heels because they don't know what you're going to do. And that's something that, again, this team with Christie sides didn't really, they didn't really adjust. They didn't really, there wasn't the freedom that this seems like what, you know, when the defensive pressure came, it was sort of like, okay, get the ball out of Caitlin's hands, which is fine at times, relieve some of that pressure, right? Get the ball out of her hands, but then she just kind of was stuck in a corner, you know, and so there was nothing, and they didn't create a culture where they could create, you know, it could be creative and they could have the freedom. And I can hear, I mean, this stuff is not really earth shattering, but you'd be surprised at how many coaches are so rigid and so much control freaks and so much set in their minds, their mindset and their philosophy that leaves no room for what Stephanie White is talking about. So though it's not earth shattering, it can shatter some earth nonetheless. So let's keep going.
Positions to make plays and allow them to do what they do best.
Yeah, go ahead.
For us is to put them in positions to make plays.
That's right.
And allow them to do what they do best. You know, so that's the simple version of what the philosophy is on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to put them in the best position to succeed. And that was something that I think whatever Christie sides does next, and I'm not trying to beat Christie sides. I mean, I know she's not with the organization anymore, but she's the last coach, so it's easy to point out. I think that was something that she'll take with her where she goes, and that is you can't have a system that doesn't move based on your personnel. Notice what Stephanie White said. It also depends on the rotation, who's on the floor at the time, right? You're not going to play this if Erica Wheeler is still on the team. Just using her as an example, you're not going to play necessarily with the same pace with her on the floor, right? So it depends. If you got Dantas on the floor, she's still with the team. It depends. So you've got to understand your personnel. You've got to understand your rotations. You got to do all the stuff. And I think that sometimes a coach, such as a Christie sides, she came in and there was a plan, and the plan was the plan. The plan was the way it went. And so, in spite of looking at the personnel and saying, "Oh my goodness, Kelsey Caitlin can run. Let's run," It took till after the Olympic break. I think the best thing she did was get out of the way and let them go. So that's going to be exciting. And of course, every single team. That's why I said this isn't earth shattering, because every single team in the league knows that Indiana wants to run. But knowing that they want to run doesn't enable you to stop it. So they can know it. It's not like she gave away any secrets. But when they're free to play and they've got the talent that they have and they're always looking to push the pace, you can know it and you can't stop it. I can go back to Cynthia Cooper playing. Everybody, you know, I mean, Cynthia Cooper did so many things, but there were certain things about her game that we knew. The Houston Comets played the C play. Okay, anybody from old school, you knew the C play, but could you stop it? It's like Cheryl Swoops. I know many of you at the channel don't care for Cheryl Swoops, but Cheryl Swoops could play the game. Everybody knew Cheryl Swoops liked to drive left and then shoot, quickest release, like a blink of an eye, boom, right? And knowing that what she was going to do and being able to stop it are totally different things. This team's going to run, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to win basketball games. So that's a nugget. First of all, Coach Brendan there telling you what caliber of player Caitlin Clark is. And then Stephanie White saying, listen, I see it. I know it. I know exactly what's going to know. Some people are like, well, they weren't known for running in Connecticut. She's no dummy. She knows that she doesn't have Connecticut's personnel. She's going to play to the strengths of the Indiana Fever, and I'm here for it. What about you? Put your comments in the comment section, please. Like it, share it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you have not. And make sure you check out the video that I put out about the new channel and about the merchandise and about the rebranding of this channel. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.